Hello, my friends. It's Tom at Weapons Education, and obviously I'm not doing too well. And I want to do this video so you know what's happening with me. I know a lot of you care a lot about me. And yesterday, my wife Tammy asked the status of my channel, and I said, well, I don't want people feeling sorry for me. I'm having a problem breathing here. I'm going to tell you in a moment what's going on. I did almost die. I think I'm going to make it. I'm going to tell you what it feels like too. But I'm doing this in one take, no editing. So I said I don't want people feeling sorry for me. I do want people praying for me. I don't want people. I don't need any special treatment. This, that, and the other. So she said there's a lot. She reads the comments too. There's a lot of people who care about you a lot out there. And she goes, I think you'll feel better, and all their prayers might help you get through this. So I'm doing this video. I've been in the hospital now about 2 weeks. I just got out of ICU yesterday, and I was there 3 or 4 days. So I'm going to give you the quick version of what happened to me. And you know I did that Ira Johnson video, by the way, if you're following the channel. That was about a day before I got in the hospital. In that video I mentioned I played it down, a chest issue, lung, ribs, and a broken shoulder. All right, well, let me just tell you what happened. And it goes back to July of 19, when I started what I called a sabbatical. Thank God I did it. Sabbatical meaning I need time for myself, to get healthier, to go to a place that is one of my most cherished places I've been going for my whole adult life, at least 25, 30 years. And that's in the forest, the Withlacoochee State Forest in North Florida, just below Ocala, north of Orlando. So in July, I started going there to ride my dirt bikes, passions since I'm a teenager, to get in shape, to give some time to myself, and to camp and to ride 3, 4, 5 hours a day, really get in shape. And I've got a lot of dirt bikes, 4 or 5 of them. So I'd go up, and I went all July and August. I think I did a video on that, just mentioning that I was there. And I'd spend 2 months up in the forest, all by myself, purposely I'm by myself. People say, well, why don't you bring someone with you? What if you get hurt? All that blah, blah, blah. And I don't expect anyone to understand it, because I wouldn't understand it either if I wasn't a rider. Or, you see, what I was trying to do is get something. I wanted to get closer with my Creator. I wanted to get more in tune with my body and shape, and I did. I did over 4,000 miles of both mountain biking, bicycling, and the tight dirt bike riding on my KTM, real tight, gnarly stuff, through the forest, slash jungle up there. And I'm still going to do it, by the way, if I make it through this. I won't quit. So all July and August, I rode, and I had some falls. I had my CAT scans of the brain and neck and all that. I had nerve damage in my hands from all the riding. But I ultimately did, from July until January 2020, over 4,000 miles. It sounds like a lot, but I did about 30 miles a day average. Some days 15, some days 50. But we'll call it 30 a day. That's 900 miles a month, 30 times 30. So, in over 5-6 months, it added up to over 4,000. Oh, boy, did I get in shape. And when you do a radical sport like motocross through the jungle, okay, It's like a boxer going into a ring over and over and expecting never to get hit. He's going to get hit in the face. He's going to get a broken nose. He's going to get busted up. It's part of the sport of boxing, but part of the sport of motocross is you're going to fall sometimes. Now, I go overboard on the gear I wear. And that's one of the reasons why I like to be alone. All my buddies, when they did see me a few times, they like make fun of me. Oh, you're wearing too much gear. You're overdoing it, this, that. And I'm like, leave me alone. I'm focused here on my human body. I don't want to hurt my head. I wear the best helmet. I don't want to hurt my chest. I wear the best chest protector. And I wear foam under that, this, that, and the other. So to get to my injury, now I'm in perfect shape, by the way. Came home for Christmas, had a wonderful Christmas with my wife and 2 kids. And I always thought, what happens if something happens to me where I'm going to die? And this is before I got hurt, seriously. And I had the same thought as I do now. I'm not worried about me dying. I'm worried about the people who survived me, my 2 children and wife in particular. The pain and suffering they're going to go through. My 2 children growing up without me. That's what hurts. And so now I'm going to tell you about the injury, and maybe when I'm better if I get through this, because it's all screwed up with all these infections going on. I'll get through it. I'm strong like bull. Remember, I'm still Tom. I'm strong like bull. I tell you, something like this will bring you down to your freaking knees, like a 2-year-old baby. You got people having to help me. They got a team of like 50 people in this hospital helping me, and I'm still can't get to that bathroom, just 4 feet away. Anyway, around January 20th, I'm up in the forest. Towards the end of that trip, I planned on coming home around the 25th. But on the 20th, I crashed pretty hard. And the only portion of all my gear, which takes about an hour to put on, from my ankles to my head, and I thought about this a lot over the summer, the only portion of my body I can't put this on is under my armpit to my hip, about a 2-inch line where the gear doesn't touch each other. And that portion is only covered by my motocross jersey. And sure enough, of course, that's what I crashed into. My rib cage, my left rib cage. So when I did it, excruciating pain, blah, blah, blah. I get back to my, they're called toy holders, which I stayed in. Rick, I had the whole Class A bus and all that. I don't want that no more. I want it to be simple Simon, nice. It's like a 28-foot trailer, and I got my refrigerator, my microwave, my bed back there. But when I crashed that day, barely made it back to the campsite. That's a whole nother story. I'm trying to keep this going. I get back to my campsite, really can't move. I mean, the pain is excruciating in my chest. All right, I broke my ribs again, which I've done 4 or 5 times in my life. So I ended up, I couldn't sleep on the bed because I couldn't lay flat. So I stayed in the chair and just sat in the chair straight up and down. And I purposely stayed about a foot from the front door, so if I had to pee, push the door open and pee in the dirt. I couldn't walk more than 3 feet. I could barely stand up. No cell phone service inside the trailer. If I got outside, it was very spotty for me to call my family. So I sat in that chair until around the 25th. 26th goes by. 27th goes by. And I kept sitting in that chair. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not getting better enough to ride, that's for sure. I got to get back to Boca Raton area where I live, South Florida, Palm Beach County. 7-hour drive, something like that. So I had Super Bowl Sunday. I spent 9 hours focusing. I got a broken right shoulder and a bashed in left rib cage. I thought that was it. But I was able to get my stuff in storage up there, leave my toy hauler behind in storage, was what I do. Take my van, which I pull it, and I drove it home on Super Bowl Sunday. All right, I get home. All right, I think I'm editing this in. There's something happened with the camera and the phone. So it's Super Bowl Sunday. I get home. I tell Tammy I'm injured, and I really didn't think it was serious. So I start taking NyQuil on purpose, sleep, antihistamine to breathe better, Tylenol, Advil, Aleve, not all at once, but that was my routine. Drink the NyQuil. I was sleeping like 20 out of 24 hours, maybe even more. The most I would do is get up to pee and maybe run to my computer in my home office for a minute. And all of a sudden, as days are going by, I'm not healing. I'm thinking, well, ribs take a long time to heal. Little did I know what was brewing up inside my chest. We're going to get to that now. So, and it's hard for me to talk and breathe. Just bear with me, I'm dealing with one lung now. So weeks go by of me sitting at home, Tammy taking care of me, and my breathing is getting worse and worse and worse. So I make the decision, I don't want to go to ER. I'm in too much pain to sit there for 6-7 hours. I don't know where to go. Like something quick, just for a quick x-ray. And I look at my health insurance card and it says urgent care, and I never gave any of those things any credit. But it said $10. So I called them and they said, yeah, we do x-rays. I drove myself, well, I went on 2 errands that day. I ran the first errand. I just had to run to the bank for a second. And then I knew I had to go to urgent care. But my mind had no oxygen. My brain was getting no oxygen. In retrospect, I didn't know, I couldn't think. So I went back home after the bank. And I'm sitting in the driveway like there was definitely something. Second, I'm like, oh yeah, urgent care. Thank God I remember. Because I was within 24 hours of death at that moment. I later found out. I get to urgent care. And she looks at me. I guess they can tell by your skin and the color of your skin. She goes, you're going straight to ER. You can't drive yourself. We're going to take an ambulance. But I convinced her, I'm here for a photo. Do the photo. And lucky they did. They did the photo of my shoulder. Yeah, it's bashed up. You're not going to die from that. They did it. And this is after my Ivor Johnson video, by the way. You saw I did an Ivor Johnson video. It took every ounce of my energy to do it that day. It was about a day or two after the Ivor Johnson video was when I got, around the 11th or 12th, when I got admitted to the hospital. So I go to urgent care. They took a photo of my left x-ray, and I can see the expression on the girl's face. I go, what is it? And she just spun it around. And I can see one lung clearly, my right lung, and the other side of my chest was just all white. And I said, oh, what is that, pneumonia or something? And she's just, I don't know. She goes, all I know is, the doctor runs in the room. She goes, I told you have to go to ER. Very nice. So they put me in an ambulance, ran around the whole sound, the whole thing. And they had to take me, you need to learn from this. You need to know where the nearest trauma hospital is to you, not just hospital. Because if you have a traumatic event, like you fall off a roof or something, and you bang your chest, and a lot of stuff's going on inside your chest besides broken ribs or shoulder like me. And what turned out with me was, so I get to the hospital where I'm in now, is in South Florida. It's a trauma hospital. You need to know where the nearest trauma hospital is to. The trauma hospital did a CAT scan on my chest to see why the x-ray's not showing one of my lungs. And it turns out we have what's called a pleuris around our lung and around our heart to protect the lung and the heart. I call it just like a sac. That's what I call it in non-medical terms. Maybe a half inch all around your whole lung, both lungs. Well, my right lung was fine. It was my bashed left lung, the rib. There was ultimately 4 snapped ribs, not even fractured. Dummy me for not going in immediately. And then what happened was the pleuris you medical guys will throw in your comments. The sac around your lung, which is there to cushion your lung and protect it, got full of fluid, which turned into bacteria, which turned into infection. It's a brutal combination. Then that sac gets full of all that poisonous fluid, and that filled up my whole. The lung did get pneumonia and did get its own fluid, but the real deadly thing was, it was like a balloon getting sucked in. It's worse than a collapsed lung, because it's like a balloon getting pushed closed and then glued together, because that sac around my lung, the pleuris, it gets what's called an effusion. It gets infected, screwed up. So the very first procedure they did after I was in the hospital a day is called a thoracentesis, something like that. And that's where they go in. It's not too evasive, it hurt like hell. It's brutal. And they put all these bars in you and cameras, and they suck out as much fluid out of that sac around your lung as possible. They got a lot of fluid out, more than that's in this Germex type of bottle here. Over a liter. A lot of fluid. And so when that was done, it was painful, but I'm looking at all that fluid. First of all, it wasn't straight red blood. I'm thinking, I'm not a doctor. I'm thinking that's good. They got all that fluid out, I'm healed. Oh no. Now I had to wait a week for diagnosis of what's that fluid. Is it infected? This, that, and then yes, it's all positive. Because it sat so long between sitting in the toy hall or my trailer, RV, and all the time I spent at home until the time I got to that urgent care. That was enough time to cause all this infection, which ultimately turned into something called sepsis, which is a blood infection. Now I'm really screwed up. So anyway, now how do they the first procedure it worked. They got a liter out plus of fluid, but didn't open up my lung. And now my gallbladder is getting infected, and all these other things are getting infected in there. And it's getting into my blood, the infection. Plural, infection's plural. I was on straight antibiotic 24/7 of different brands the whole time up until, I think, yesterday. So then I went in for what's called a VAD to clear up your pleural, the sac around your lung. They did 10 minutes of that and immediately realized that it's all too dried up, gooky, infected, screwed up. They had to cut me wide open, full-blown infection, operation, maybe a 6-inch, 8-inch, I don't even know the length, so I can't see it. And they cut me open, and that way they can really get in there, be aggressive, and clean it all out, and disinfect it, so to speak, and open up the lung. So the good news is after that surgery, they do an X-ray, and poof, I can see 2 lungs. It's like, and now I'm in ICU. I'm like, great. Well, it's not so great, Tom. You still got to deal with these infections. We lost a part of your lung. Well, what percentage? Well, it was all so infected and so screwed up, it was dead. And maybe a fourth of my lung had to be extracted, not for so much. They used some of it for biopsy, but mostly because it was dead. All right, at least I'm not dying. There's a lot going on when you have infections in your organs. Well, from a boo-boo, from what I thought was just, I know I look like a mess, but I don't care. What I thought was just a smashed rib cage. So the surgery, where I'm at now is, I got this big tube coming out of my chest, which is into the pleural to suck out any more of this deadly infection. It goes into this machine over here, down here. The goal is to get that tube out. The goal is to keep pumping me with antibiotic, on and off. And I got 9 doctors, for real. All different types, infectious disease, lung, pulmonary, pain management, and more than that. And you need to learn from what I learned. You need to know how a hospital operates, chain of command. There's something up here on this chart you can't see, called the charge numbers. Well, I figured out. Okay, phone's glitching out, but I was talking about the charge nurse. So I figured out who the in-charge nurse was, and a lot of mistakes happened after my surgery. For instance, the first 18 to 24 hours, and this is not opinion or anything, they actually forgot about my pain management, which was the number one thing. So after surgery, I had no pain medication, nothing to help me. There was a miscommunication because I was supposed to go straight from surgery to ICU, but there was no bed open in ICU, so I went from surgery to post-op, which is normally people staying there an hour, just as a transition, to go either home or to their normal, to a normal hospital room. In my case, I went 8 hours in that post-op. That was horror, with no health care. No one knew what the hell to do with me. And I gassed out enough breath because by that time I knew what a charge nurse was. And then, make a long story short, even the first 12 hours in ICU, they couldn't get the machine working right. And for the first, 20 hours after my surgery, I had nothing for the pain, and every breath was like death of pain, excruciating. So I got through all that. Now I'm at the position where, because they said no one else, the good point is no one else would have no way made it. And if I repeat myself, I'm sorry. If I wasn't in such good cardiovascular shape, 1. 2, if I had diabetes, I would have died within 2 days. 3, if I was obese, out of shape. And then a big one was if I was a smoker now, which I've never been a smoker, cigarette smoker, drugs, I never did any of that crap. So that was important too, that they said if I was ever a smoker, I would have scar tissue and the infection would have just killed me. That turned out to be the biggest problem I'm dealing with, is infections. Not the 4 broken ribs. It's the infections that are going on, that got into my blood, which of course goes to everything. That's where I'm at. I love all you guys and gals. I'm asking for your prayers. I'm going to get through this. I think the worst is over. According to all the different doctors, and there's like really 8, 9, 10 of them, they seem to think that I'm going to be okay. Hello. You can leave it going. What's on your mind?
I would like to take your water for dinner.
Can you come back in 10 seconds?
Okay.
Thank you. I forgot what I was saying, but I'm going to make it through this. I care about all of you. I'm asking for your prayers. If you've been through something, maybe you can share your story. And I promise to come back. Well, what happened to my studio, I wanted to tell you. Because I've been doing all this, getting in shape, exercising, going to the forest since beginning of July, I haven't had time to focus on the channel as much as I'd like. I had to focus on me, and then I get hurt like this and push back. So I have a home in Boca specifically dedicated. I was going to rent it out, but I decided to dedicate the whole master bedroom to a studio, which I'm going to do. And then the rest of the house is going to be my office. Why go pay rent somewhere when I have a house sitting in Boca that I could use to make my business office? This spot here in my ribs is excruciating. That's where the tube goes in and out, I think. But that's it, everyone. I love and care about all of you. I wanted to tell you what's going on because you deserve to know. You've been supporting me for so long. I thank you for that. Please keep supporting me. When you're brought down to the level of peeing in bed, and you're brought down to the level of depending on all these other people just to move a fraction of an inch. On the day of my injury, I bench pressed 315 pounds 3 times, and 225 I did 10, 12 times at will that morning. You go from that strong of a man to being diminished to nothing so quick. You take life, you look at life a little bit differently, and you thank God and Jesus a lot more frequently. And you thank the people who care about you like you guys more often. I thank you more often. I think about you. It's the strength of you folks out there and my immediately friends and family, that's been getting me through this ordeal. Strong like bull. Thank you. Goodbye, my friends. I'll be back.